Hey guys, and welcome back to Gabbin with Jessa. Today, I'm going to be starting a new series within one of my series. I'm going to be doing a book versus movie series on my favorite book series of all time, the one that I love so much. I will be starting a Harry Potter book versus movie series. Anyone who knows me knows that I am the biggest Harry Potter fan ever. I've been to the studio tour, I've been down to Orlando to the Wizarding World, I've even run in a 5K just because it was Harry Potter themed. I love everything about it. It remains my favorite series to this day, and I can't wait to compare the books and the movies because I think that they're a lot of fun to watch, and I think that obviously they're a lot of fun to read, but you know, it's interesting to see what they cut from these books to be able to fit it for film. And in today's video, we will obviously be beginning with the very first book and movie of the series. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling was published in 1997 in the United Kingdom. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was published in the States in 1998. This book is the first in a 7-book series about a boy who figures out he is a wizard and is gone off to wizarding school, and throughout the years him and his friends have to help him defeat the dark magic that surrounds the wizarding world. The first book was later adapted into a 2001 movie starring Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint as the Golden Trio, along with Robbie Coltrane, Dame Maggie Smith, Richard Harris, and Alan Rickman in other major roles. Alrighty, let's throw up the book and movie cover and let's just jump into it. Now I will say there will be spoilers for both the book and the movie, so if you haven't done either of those yet, first off, what are you doing? Second of all, come join us back here once you're done with that. All of these opinions will be my own, and I just want to hear what you guys also have to say, so leave me some notes down in the comments below. Well, I'm first going to have to give an obvious first point to the book because it is our introduction into this magical wizarding world. It's what got it all started, all from J.K. Rowling's brain, and I absolutely love it. With that, I also do have to give a point to the movie because they were able to introduce this world in a cinematic way. I think that the first and second book are two of the closest book to movie adaptations in this series, and I really think that the cast and crew did well of portraying this first book onto the big screen, especially when people were really nervous about how it would be portrayed on a screen. And I think that they did a really good job with that, so point movie. I'm gonna give another point to the movie because everyone in their respective roles does an absolutely amazing job. Some of the cast members do look a little bit different, like with Harry having the wrong colored eyes, Hermione not having buck teeth, etc. But I think that those little details are just small details that don't really matter with the big picture of what they were able to do as actors. The children actors, while still not the best in these early movies, still give off a great performance. They are a lot of fun to watch. They kind of add to this whimsical feeling that the first few books give. So I thought they were really good. And also, of course, Britain's finest is in this movie. If they're not in this movie, they're somewhere down the line for all the adult actors, and they're all great too. As we know, the movie starts off in the second half of the first chapter with Dumbledore, McGonagall, and Hagrid dropping Harry off at the Dursleys on the doorstep, but I actually really like the beginning half of the first chapter where we're introduced to the Dursleys. We follow Vernon around on a regular work day, and of course things are different. He's seeing more people out in funny costumes, and he doesn't really know what's going on. And I really thought that this was a great introduction into wizards into the Muggle world. We're able to see the relationship that they have with each other and how that can really affect some of the further plot lines in the books. So I'm gonna give a point to the book. Before we go to the zoo for Dudley's birthday, Vernon tells Harry that there better not be any funny business when he's on this trip. Obviously, Harry doesn't really know what he's talking about in the movie, but in the books, he kind of does because there's a lot of other scenes that I wish they included. It was just Harry mentioning how when Dudley and his gang were chasing him, he ended up on the roof of the school, or when Petunia gave him a really bad haircut and it all grew back in the middle of the night. Little things like that that I wish that they kind of alluded to in the movie that would have added a little bit more to how wizards develop their magic, and also to the mystery of Harry wondering what the heck is going on before he finds out the big reveal, obviously. So, point book. I'm also going to give another point to the book because of the mention of Mrs. Fig. She is not mentioned once in this movie. She does have a very small mention in the first book, and I think that even that small mention is a great way to introduce her because she does play a pretty big part in the first few chapters of the 5th book and the 5th movie, and she's just kind of thrown in there, and her character's really like washed down a lot, but that's a topic for another video. So like I said, point book for that one. I remember seeing the first teaser trailer and getting the line from Vernon.
There's no such thing as magic.
And then he like slams the cover shut on the cupboard under the stairs, little window thing. And I thought that was a great introduction into this world. It happens right after the zoo scene, but it was the first scene that we got to see in a trailer, and I absolutely loved it. It's not in the book at all, and I thought that was a really fun addition that they had to it. So point movie. Between the zoo scene and Harry getting his first letter from Hogwarts, we do see a lot of potential child abuse from his aunt and his uncle towards Harry, of him not being allowed out from the cupboard under the stairs, barely feeding him any food, and so many things like that. That goes on not just in this book, but in a lot of the future books as well. And I'm just sitting here wondering, like, why wasn't Child Protective Services called? It seems like they should have been. I think the movie definitely wanted to have a more fun and whimsical feel and just make the Dursleys come off as, oh, we don't like them, they're bad people, but they are so much worse than what they're portrayed as in the movie. And I just kind of wish they kept that in, because it is some real world issues that people go through that was kind of watered down for the sake of the movie. I understand why they did it, but I also kind of wish that they kept a little bit of it in, so I'm gonna give a point to the book. I'm also gonna give a point to the movie for Vernon's descent into madness, just like from getting all the different letters and then him having to board up the mail slot to throwing them in the fire with that weird menacing look on his face. I just think that was really great acting, and I love him for it. I think it makes complete sense of why he did everything like that. One of my favorite scenes, probably visually, in these movies is the one of Harry trying to grab all the different envelopes as they're flying out of the fireplace, because the owls have just shoved them all in there. I think it's just so well shot, and it just is something that I would love to do. And I don't know, that scene just always puts a smile to my face, because it's just so cool, and I just love it. And the excitement on Daniel Radcliffe's face and everything like that, it's just a lot of fun. So point movie. But of course, I couldn't not give a point to the book for having the line that introduced us to this world that solved all of Harry's problems.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
Also, during the scene in the middle of Hagrid and Vernon's fight, we get a line from Hagrid.
Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me.
And in the book, this is all caps, but I really like the way Robbie Coltrane made it a more stern look. I thought this one was a little more scary, and if I was in Vernon's position, I'd probably be more scared of him saying it this stern to me rather than him screaming at me, because he may not take him seriously. So point to the movie. I also wish that they kept in a little more of the scene of Harry getting like attacked by wizards when he first walks into the leaky cauldron. They do show it a bit in the movie from the book, but the book just gives us so much more. Like they say it takes about 10 minutes for Harry and Hagrid to actually get through the whole leaky cauldron. Not saying that they needed 10 minutes of that, because that would have been a little bit of a waste of time, but I wish that they kind of attacked him more. Like one person just kind of shook his hand, another lady I think shook his hand too, and they were just all kind of frozen in place. But Voldemort's been dead for 10 years because of this boy, and he is practically the most famous wizard of all time, even at this point at 11 years old. So I wish that they kind of showed that part of it a little more. So I'm gonna give a point to the book. So we enter Diagon Alley and the music is playing, and I just want to take this moment to really thank John Williams for his amazing score. He created Hedwig's theme, which of course is so iconic throughout the whole series that it keeps being used and is even used in the new prequel series a little bit. Everything about it is just so magical. He does the first 3 movies, I believe, and each of those soundtracks is just so great. But I think this first one really stands out because he just brings so much fun to the movie, because that's what it's supposed to be focusing on. We don't have too many dangers in this first book, and the music just adds so much to it. So I'm gonna give a point to the movie for John Williams' score. Probably one of my all-time favorite scenes in any of the Harry Potter movies is the scene where Harry gets his wand for the first time. Like he's trying out all the different wands, and then when he finds the right one, the wind blows everywhere and the lights come up. I actually did get to go to the Wizarding World in Orlando, and I actually got to do this whole scene, so I got to try different wands. And when I found just the right one, the lights went up and there was a little wind blowing everywhere, and it was one of the best experiences ever. I'm gonna give a point to the movie for just bringing that scene to life. It was so much fun. Even though that is one of my favorite scenes from the movies, that's like all we get from Diagon Alley. They go into all the different shops in the book. They spend a little time here getting, you know, textbooks, and there getting robes and things like that. And I kind of wish that even if they just had some form of a montage for this scene, so that way we're able to see more of what is needed for wizarding school. He's just kind of seen carrying a bunch of packages, and then he gets his wand, and then he gets an owl, and that's about it. But I kind of wish that they had something where they could see the different shops that he does need to go to, just to kind of explore this world a little bit more. So I'm gonna give a point to the book. So we finally arrived to the big day, September 1st. We're all about to go off to Hogwarts, and this is the scene where we're first introduced to not just Ron Weasley, but the Weasley family. I absolutely love the Weasley family. I think any kind of family banter between them is so much fun, and this scene just starts us all off, especially with the Weasley twins. They do have some of their best lines in there.
Fred, you next. He's not Fred, I am. Honestly, woman, you call yourself our mother.
Oh, I'm sorry, George.
I'm only joking. I am Fred.
But also there's just so much more that they could have added to add even more to their characters. The Weasley twins are my favorite characters in the Harry Potter series, and anytime I can get more Weasley, I'll always want more Weasley. So I'm gonna give a point to the book for that. I also did get to meet the Weasley twins and Ginny Weasley at my local Comic-Con. It was Keystone Comic-Con in Philadelphia, and it was one of the best moments of my life. They are such cool people. They're a lot of fun, and it was absolutely amazing. I loved it. I know one thing that's always kind of memed or made fun of from these early movies is Rupert Grint's silly faces that he makes throughout the movie when he's shocked or surprised or anything like that. Honestly, I love them. They made me laugh when I was a kid, and they're making me laugh still now. So I'm gonna give a point to the movie for that. This one's for you, Rupert. One of the characters that I think fans really missed that was in the books, that wasn't in the movies, was Peeves the Poltergeist. Now, Peeves doesn't really add too much to the plot. He's mostly there just kind of to break the ice and everything like that. But he does have a lot of fun scenes that just kind of show, again, how crazy it is at Hogwarts, how much there is to this world. And basically, any movie from here on out that has a good Peeves scene that I like, where he's not mentioned in the movie at all, because he's not there, it's gonna be an automatic point to the book. So just like in this instance, so point book. With the sorting ceremony, I kind of wish that they kept in the Sorting Hat song. I think the song really does tell us a lot about the different houses, because the vibe that I kind of get from the movies, not that they were trying to portray it like this, but that it came off was that all the good guys are in Gryffindor, all the bad guys are in Slytherin, the smart ones are in Ravenclaw, and everyone else is going to Hufflepuff. And that's just not really true for any of the houses, honestly. There are good guys in Slytherin, there are bad guys in Gryffindor, and there's dumb people in Ravenclaw, and then there's some really great characters in Hufflepuff too. I think including the song would have really helped people who just watch the movies, which is totally fine. It would have helped them find their true house as well, instead of being like, oh, I'm a Gryffindor because I'm a good guy. So because of that, I gotta give a point to the book. While I thought it was probably a good idea for the sake of the movie to leave out classes like History of Magic and Astronomy, I kind of wish they at least mentioned them in some way. Those are two of the major classes that students have to take all 7 years that they're at Hogwarts. And so I think just not kind of mentioning them doesn't really, like, I don't know, it just feels like something that should have been there, that could have easily been there. They could have cut the scenes, totally fine. But again, it just shows us that there's more to wizards than we may think that they are. They still have to go through history classes. They still have to study the stars, which I think is really cool. So I guess that can kind of be like a science class along with potions, which can kind of be like a science class. But at least just mentioning them, saying, hey, we have history of magic and then astronomy or something like that, I think would have sufficed. So I'm gonna give a point to the book because at least they, mention all the classes. Severus Snape is one of the most complex characters in the entire series. Alan Rickman did an absolutely amazing job translating this character from book to screen, and honestly, I don't think anyone else could have done it as well as he did. However, I do think the movies like to soften how much of a bully his character really was. I don't blame Alan Rickman for that. I don't really think it's his fault. I blame the writers for that. I think that they Probably didn't think that was really much needed. If he just had some snarky comments towards Harry and, you know, favoritism towards Slytherin, I thought that would suffice. But he's actually like a really big bully, especially to people like Neville. Even Hermione at one point, when in a later book, something happens to her physically, and of course she's a little insecure about it, and then he's just like, oh, I see nothing wrong. And I'm like, that is so rude for a teacher to say to like a young teenage girl. That is just so rude. So I'm gonna give a point to the book because I think because of how much his character was of being a bully, I think it really does make it hard for us to root for him in the end. I still do, because I understand why he did everything. I don't think he needed to have the attitude that he did towards the other students. Maybe towards Harry, because he did look like James and he hated James for obvious reasons. But I don't think the movies made it that hard to dislike him, because one, Alan Rickman did a great job, and two, because there's just not as much of the bullying in there. I feel like it would have been a lot harder if they included a lot more of these scenes, especially with Neville and Hermione. So I'm gonna give a point to the book because of that character development. Another one of my favorite moments when I was a child and first watched this that I absolutely loved, that I thought was funny, was the exchange between Hermione and Ron.
She needs to sort out her priorities.
So point movie, because it still just makes me laugh. Along with classes, Quidditch is another thing that takes like a real back seat in these movies. It's very important to Harry. This is the first time he's felt like he's a part of a team. I mean, he actually is on a team, but that he has something to work for, really. I'm happy with the amount of Quidditch that they did show in this movie, considering it is the most that we get from it, because they had basically a full first game that Harry ever played in. A lot of it was the same. However, they should not have cut out Lee Jordan's commentary. Lee Jordan is so funny. I mean, being friends with the Weasley twins, you have to be a little bit funny, and he just absolutely shines when it comes to commentating on these Quidditch matches. It's so much fun. They're great, funny scenes. So I gotta give a point to the book because some of those scenes are my favorite. One of the most impactful scenes for Harry is when he finds the Mirror of Erised for the first time, and he stands in front of it, and then in its reflection, he sees his parents standing there with him. Now in the movie, it kind of alludes to the fact that he may have been there more than one time, but it kind of only seems like he's there for one night. However, in the book, he is there for many nights. Like, he keeps going back and back and back. Every time during Christmas break, Ron tells him, what, you're going back to that mirror again? And Harry's like, yes, I have to go see him again. Dumbledore says that men have gone mad standing in front of this mirror. And I think that really makes sense when you see how much Harry keeps going back to it. And I also wish that they kept in the line where Harry asked Dumbledore what he saw in the mirror, even though it was a lie. But it really, in my opinion, was the start of the relationship that they would have later on down the road in the years to come. So I gotta give a point to the book. Another character that fans really wish were in the movies that weren't, because they were a lot of fun in the books, was Charlie Weasley. Now, Charlie Weasley actually doesn't make a physical appearance in this book. He's just mentioned a lot, but he is the reason why Harry, Hermione, Neville, yes, Neville, and Draco all get detention, because Harry and Hermione are off trying to return Norbert. And then Draco runs into Neville, I believe it is, because Neville was trying to warn them that Draco was after them or something like that. And then McGonagall, you know, finds all of them. And then they all serve the detention in the Forbidden Forest. Like I said before about Peeves, he doesn't really play a major part in moving the plot along. But at certain instances, I think Charlie really does. It may be small little instances, but it does have something that adds his character into who he is and helps out the trio or whatever's going on, or his family or anything like that. So I'm gonna give a point to the book because I think that he's a really great character that they shouldn't have cut out. So now we're at the point where the trio decides to go after the Sorcerer's Stone. So they get past Fluffy, they get through the Devil's Snare, they catch a flying key, they've defeated the giant chess people, and now is where Hermione gets to shine. So there are potions that will help you get through to the fire, one of them to get to the Sorcerer's Stone and another one to get back out of there. Throughout this book, we've seen Hermione basically be kind of a bratty know-it-all girl who's, you know, a teacher's pet in a way. But this is where her intelligence really gets to shine. She is such a hard worker, and she does try so hard, especially for being a Muggle-born. She wants to try to do her best in this world that she's not familiar with at all. And I think that it's at this point where we learn that Hermione's not just a teacher's pet, that she's actually brilliant. And this is the part where she shines. I really think that they should have kept this in the book. It would have helped with her character a little bit. And it's one of my favorite scenes because I really do adore Hermione, so point to the book. So we get there, we get the stone, Harry defeats Quirrell, and then the weird moldy spirit thing like flies through him, whatever the heck that was. And so we're back in the hospital wing and we're recovering. And this is where Dumbledore and Harry have their first of their many famous chats that they will have throughout the years. One of the moments that I really took away from this scene was when Dumbledore mentioned to Harry that Snape kind of despises him because he looks so much like his father. Snape and Harry's father James really had it out when they were students at Hogwarts, but also Snape is in debt to James because from Dumbledore's knowledge, James saved Snape from dying in the Shrieking Shack, which is something we'll find out later on in the books of what exactly that scene was, but that's not even mentioned here at all. We know that Harry looks like James, but we don't really know why Snape despises him so much, and it makes so much more sense when Dumbledore explains it like this. So I gotta give a point to the book. I also think it opens up a lot of some future plot lines with Snape and Harry's father and Harry's father's friends and the relationships that they all had while they were in school together as students. And that is some of my favorite plot lines too. Okay, so if my tallying is correct, it looks like that we have the first book winner for book versus movie for the Harry Potter series that we're doing. I mean, I don't really think anyone is surprised. I do have to give a lot of credit to the cast and crew though, because they did a really good job of adapting this book into a film. When you have a really popular book series, it can be kind of nerve-wracking to convert it onto screen because, you know, so many people are going to be sad. Even the author might be nervous about what might happen, but I think that they did a really good job on this. Unfortunately, they did not come out on top, but I still appreciate them so much. Christopher Columbus and gang did a great job. But of course, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear what you guys think and more in the comments below. Please let me know what you guys think. Also give me suggestions on other books to movies that you'd like me to do or books to TV shows. I'm going to try out both. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, follow me on all the different things in the description below. And until next time, keep on gabbing.